Friends, our reading this morning is a poem by W.S. Merwin called Here Together. These days, I can see us clinging to each other as we are swept along by the current. I am clinging to you to keep you from being swept away, and you are clinging to me. We see the shores blurring past as we hold each other in the rushing current. The daylight rushes unheard far above us. How long will we be swept along in the daylight? How long will we cling to one another in the night? And where will the current take us together? Friends, I just want to say again how good it feels to be here with all of you today, gathered together as one community, united in purpose, as the choir sang, united in our care for one another and our world, united in our search for sacred truth and meaning, united in our prayer and passion for justice. I got to tell you that these last weeks and months have shown me over and over again just how important it is that we are part of a strong and caring community. And how important it is that we come together to support one another in difficult times. I'm seeing it happening all over these days. I'll tell you that last week, my son began a new school year in Washington, D.C. He goes to a bilingual school founded years ago by D.C.'s Central American immigrant community. The school is located in a neighborhood that today is being heavily patrolled by the National Guard and by ICE. Needless to say, lots of kids and parents were anxious about getting to and from school in this new year. I mean, imagine our kids being afraid to go to school on the first day of school. But families came together to support one another. Parents organized carpools and accompanied groups of kids who took the bus together and fanned out on street corners to keep vigil and make sure everyone was okay. Just yesterday, I received an email from a collective of Unitarian Universalist trans folks and their allies who are organizing to support trans families who live in states that are becoming more hostile to trans folks and helping them relocate to states like Massachusetts, helping find temporary housing and jobs. Folks here in our church are raising money to pay bail bonds for immigrants caught in detention. People coming together to look out for one another, right? To have one another's backs. I think that's why the poem I read earlier by W.S. Merwin has been in my head and my heart lately. These days I can see us clinging to each other. As we are swept along by the current, I am clinging to you to keep you from being swept away, and you are clinging to me. That's what we do for each other. When times are tough, when the chips are down, when our backs are against the wall, we show up for one another and support one another and discover once again that we will get by with a little help from our friends. Indeed, it's the only way we've ever gotten by. So yes, it's good to be here with all of you this Sunday. You know, there's a great story from the Gospel of Mark about the saving power of friendship and community. And it's also kind of a strange and quirky story, which are my favorite stories in the Bible. The story goes that Jesus and his disciples have come to a house where Jesus is healing the sick. And an enormous crowd is gathered around the house. Some have come to be healed by Jesus. Some have simply come to watch these wonders take place. But in the midst of the hubbub, Mark draws our attention to a group of friends all the way at the back of the crowd. Friends who have brought with them a friend of theirs who seeks healing. Their friend is paralyzed. He can't walk. So they brought him to the house where Jesus is, carrying him on a mat. Who knows how far they've come? But when the friends arrive and see how big the crowd is, they realize that if they just wait around at the back of the crowd, their friend is probably going to never get a chance to get up and be healed by Jesus. And so they do something remarkable. They pick their friend back up on his mat. They carry him all the way around to the back of the house where there's no crowd back there. And then they somehow get up on the roof of the house and lift their friend up with them, still on his mat. And then they tear a hole in the roof of the house. I'm not making this up. And somehow manage to lower their friend through the hole and down to the floor of the house right at Jesus' feet. I swear to you, it says this right in the Gospel of Mark. It says, since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it and then lowered the mat the man was lying on. Right? Would that we all had friends like that. Right? Right? I mean, think about it. Are there people in your life who'd go to those lengths for you? Who are they? Be sure to cherish them. And are you the kind of person who'd do that for someone you love? Because the story suggests that this is what it's going to take for us to heal and be healed. Just a postscript. While all of this is going on, Jesus is watching this group of friends. And he's amazed at their love for their friend, amazed at the lengths that they'll go so that their friend might be healed. And in the end, Mark writes that Jesus healed the man not because of his own compassion. He healed the man, Mark writes, because he was so moved by the friend's love. That, by the way, is the funny thing about the Gospels. The Gospel authors are always trying to make Jesus the center of the story and how he's the key to salvation. But Jesus is always pointing the finger back at us, right? Teaching us that we are one another's salvation. Reminding us that we'll get by only with a little help from our friends. A lesbian colleague of mine told me a story not long ago about something that took place in the gay community way back in the 80s at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. The story goes that one day the phone rang at a gay bookstore in some major U.S. city. I can't remember which, Boston, New York, San Francisco. But when the clerk picked up the phone, the caller wasn't calling about a book. The caller was a distraught young man from a rural part of the country who thought he might be gay and wasn't sure if he could live with this truth about himself and didn't know where else to turn. So he found a number for a gay bookstore and he dialed it. Now, the bookstore cashier was no therapist or counselor, But he figured, as long as he stayed on the line with this young man, he'd be okay. So he kept listening to him and talking to him. But as the conversation wore on, a line began to form at the cash register in the store. Folks are waiting to pay for their books, and the longer the conversation went on, the longer the line grew, and the clerk started getting kind of anxious. On the one hand, he didn't want to get off the phone, but on the other hand, there were the customers. He didn't know what to do. Finally, one of the customers who'd been waiting in line for a long time came up to the cash register and got right in the clerk's face. And he thought, oh boy, I've had it now. And the woman said to him, "Give me the phone. It's my turn now. It's my turn now." She took the phone. She began talking to the young man, and after they paid their bills, some of the other customers stayed around too to have a conversation with him. "It's my turn," the woman said. Think about that for a moment. That's such a powerful statement. It's my turn. Such a powerful moment when we realize that it is our turn. That it is time for us to step out of the line, to step out of line, and move up to the front and reach out our hand to someone in need. It's my turn. Can we say that together? It's my turn, right? How about it's our turn? It's our turn. Now, there are other times when we may be the one who's making the phone call, right? We've all been there. Reaching out for support. We find ourselves on both sides of that phone call at one time or another in our lives. That's why we need each other. But friends, I believe that this moment that we're living through right now, I believe it's my turn kind of moment, right? A moment when we all need to consider whether and how we're going to step out of line and move up front and extend our hand to answer the call, because make no mistake about it, friends, the phone is ringing, right? Can I get an amen on that one? The phone is ringing, right? We hear it loud and clear. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, there are 50 or 60 neighbors lined up outside our parlor seeking a warm meal. It's our turn. Most every night of the year, there are homeless youth queuing up to get a bed in the youth shelter, which is located right beneath your feet right now, right underneath where we are sitting. It's our turn. Vulnerable communities across our neighborhood and city are reaching out and asking for support and assistance. Let's find a way to respond together to these urgent needs. It's our turn. Say it with me one more time. It's our turn. Together, friends, we're going to make it through these tough times. We will. Together, we will get by with a little help from our friends, and we won't just get by. We're going to thrive with one another's support. So friends, let's be there for one another today and in all the days to come. May it be so, and amen.